Hello, boys and girls. We are going to be reading our weekly story. This story is called Desert in Bloom, and it is an informational text. Informational text can be organized in different ways, and we've read quite a few so far this year. This particular informational text is organized in steps. And these steps go in a certain sequence or in a certain order. We have events or steps that happen first. Then we learn what happens next. And then we learn what happens last. So these words are order words. They tell us when things happen. So let's turn the page to page 64. And we are going to look at the vocabulary that's going to be in this story. Our first vocabulary word is soil. Soil. Soil is the loose earth in which plants grow. Another word for it is dirt. The next word is bloom. Bloom. When plants bloom, they open into flowers. Ground. Ground. The ground is the soil or dirt that's on the surface of the earth. And finally, desert. Desert is a dry area of land with very few plants and animals. So, next we're going to read the text and look at the pictures, and we're going to find out how flowers grow in the desert when there's not much rain and it is very dry. Okay, our story begins on page 65. Desert in bloom. And we know that bloom means plants that open up into flowers. Here we see lots of flowers, and this is a picture of a desert. All right, let's turn the page. Okay, let's begin reading. The desert is hot. The desert is dry. How can desert flowers grow there? How do you think desert flowers grow in a climate that is so dry and so hot? Those are some pretty purple flowers. Okay, let's go on to the next page. The desert soil is full of seeds. Okay, here we have an activity. What are deserts like? Highlight, or we'll circle, the most important information. So we're going to look for information on these two pages that tell us what deserts are like. So I think on the first page, we can find the answer in the first two sentences. The desert is hot. Well, that definitely tells us what deserts are like. So we're going to circle this part. Desert is hot. What else do we know about the desert in the second sentence? The desert is dry. And then, on this page, we have another fact. The desert soil is full of seeds. So we'll circle this part. Soil is full of seeds. All right, let's turn the page and continue reading. In summer, the ground is hot and dry. The seeds do not grow. You can see how hot and dry it is from the cracks in the ground. Doesn't look like anything can grow in there. Let's go to the next page. In fall, the ground gets cool from cloudy days. The seeds do not grow. Okay, let's look at our next activity. What do these pages tell about how flowers grow? Underline the words that tell when the steps happen. So our question, what do these pages tell about how flowers grow? It tells us that the flowers do not grow. In the summer, the ground is too hot and dry. Summer is a word that tells when something happens. So we're going to underline this. In summer. We're underlining the words that tell when the steps happen. In summer, the ground is hot and dry. The seeds do not grow. Let's go to the next page. We're going to underline more words that tell us when something happens. In fall, the ground gets cool from cloudy days. The seeds do not grow. Okay, so again, this page tells us that flowers don't grow. And we have words that tell us when something happens. In fall, in the season of fall or autumn. Okay, let's turn the page. Now we're in winter. In winter, the ground gets soaked with rain. The seeds start to grow. Next page. In spring, the ground gets warm from the sun. Colorful flowers bloom. So what do these two pages tell us about how flowers grow? We're going to underline words that tell when these steps happen. Okay, let's go back to this previous page. In the winter, the ground gets soaked with rain and the seeds start to grow. So we are getting flowers. When? In the winter. Why do the flowers start to grow in the winter? Because the desert gets rain. And it gets a lot of rain. So much rain that it pools up. It gets soaked. Let's go to the next page. In spring, the ground gets warm from the sun, and then colorful flowers bloom. So when do the flowers bloom? In spring. Okay, we've turned the page. When summer returns, it gets hot. The flowers die. Their seeds rest in the ground until spring comes again. And then the cycle starts all over again. So what is the last thing that happens in the desert? The flowers die, and their seeds rest in the ground. So let's underline this. This is the last thing that happens in the desert. The flowers die. There we go. Their seeds rest in the ground. And when does this happen? In the summer, when it gets hot. Okay, let's look at the last page. Now you know how desert flowers grow. So this was an informational text that gave us information about how flowers bloom in the desert. And it gave us the information in steps. What happens first, next, and last. And it gave us the time that the steps happen. It gave us the steps in seasons. In winter, spring, summer, fall.